A single candle flickers in a dimly lit room, its flame wavering like a fragile heartbeat against the vast silence. The wax slowly melts away, dripping in quiet surrender to time until the light grows thin, fragile, then finally gives way to shadows. In that fading moment, the darkness feels absolute, yet it is not emptiness, but a kind of readiness. Somewhere deep beneath the stillness, a different kind of breath begins, softer, slower, filled with the echo of what was and the whisper of what might be. This is the liminal space where collapse and renewal dance in intimate embrace. A place where endings conceal beginnings, and the weight of burnout folds gently into the possibility of revival. Imagine standing at the edge of yourself, watching the old flame die down, and sensing the stirrings of new fire beneath the ash. Burnout is not merely exhaustion, it is a crucible. It is the shadowed valley that precedes the rise. What does it feel like to inhabit that fragile border between collapse and renewal? What stories does the darkness hold, if only we listen? And in that interior quiet, could we find both the sorrow of losing and the secret hope of becoming? Burnout arrives quietly, often unnoticed at first. Like a slow leak beneath the surface, the energy we rely on seeps away. Not all at once, but piece by piece, day by day. At its core lies a paradox. Collapse feels like failure, like a breaking point, but it simultaneously opens an unseen door. Psychologists glimpse this tension in what Carl Jung called the shadow, the parts of ourselves we avoid or suppress, now emerging in the stillness left by exhaustion. It is as if burnout strips away the bright veneer we wear, exposing the raw, shadowed terrain beneath. This paradox, where weakness births strength and collapse becomes a form of becoming, is the heartbeat of the cycle we inhabit. Emotional exhaustion, as modern psychology shows, is more than fatigue. It is an unraveling of the old narratives and defenses. The mechanism of self-regulation falters, and we are cast vulnerable into ourselves. Yet that vulnerability holds a secret gift. The breakdown of habitual control invites a new relationship with our shadow self, the hidden depths Jung described. It is within this shadowed terrain that renewal begins its slow, mysterious work. The phoenix is not born in flame alone, but must first pass through ashes. Burnout, then, is not an endpoint, but the painful entry to a deeper transformation. This revelation resonates across both psychology and age-old human mythologies, a universal rhythm of collapse, stillness, and revival. Through these lenses, the cycle of burnout becomes less a tragedy and more a sacred rite. The spaces where we break open become sanctuaries for the new self to emerge. We might think of burnout as a quiet, unacknowledged grief, the loss of former certainties and energies. But grief, next to it, is also fertile soil for growth. Here, in the quiet folds of collapse, lies the tender potential for rebirth and renewal. Burnout and revival weave together like the tides, pulling us between exhaustion and emergence. The psychology behind this cycle reveals layers that often remain invisible beneath the surface of our daily lives. At the heart of it is emotional exhaustion, sometimes called psychological burnout, a state where prolonged stress exhausts the mind and body, fraying resilience and eroding self-regulation. Psychologists recognize that self-regulation, our capacity to modulate emotions and maintain equilibrium, becomes overwhelmed during burnout. As this internal balance falters, we become exposed to deeper psychic unrest. This dynamic interplay may feel like a loss of control, but it also signals a necessary reckoning with the shadow, a Jungian concept describing the unconscious parts of the self we often disown or reject. When exhaustion strips away superficial defenses, the shadow begins to surface, bringing with it suppressed fears, desires, and vulnerabilities. This unmasking can be disorienting, but is critical to true renewal. It is within this process that we glimpse the phoenix metaphor from depth psychology. The outward collapse is not the end, but the ashes from which a new self emerges. We endure a psychological death that is painful but transformative, allowing for individuation, the growth into a more integrated, authentic self. This cycle is never linear. It unfolds in rhythms: collapse, despair, pause, and gradual resurgence. The repeated nature of burnout reflects not failure, but the complexity of human resilience. Each cycle offers a new layer of understanding about who we are beneath our roles and defenses. Emotional exhaustion invites a reckoning not only with stresses, but with how we relate to ourselves, the standards we impose, the masks we wear, the unspoken wounds we carry. Renewal ripples out quietly from this interior work. It is not a grand awakening, but a subtle, persistent reconstruction of meaning and energy. We learn to inhabit vulnerability differently, embracing our fractured edges as places of insight rather than shame. In surrendering control, we discover a new kind of strength, a gentle knowing that presence amid darkness can cultivate light. This is the ongoing dance of collapse and renewal, a deeply human rhythm that asks us to trust in process rather than outcome. Within the collapse lies a sacred pulse, a promise of revival held in the shadows. Storytelling echoes this truth. Cultures have long told tales of descent into darkness before the hero's return, to a place where loss becomes gain and endings shape beginnings. Psychologically, the cycle involves embracing not just pain, but the gifts hidden within it. It reveals our capacity for profound self-transcendence, inviting us closer to the mysterious depths of our own being. The emotional texture of this experience is complex, tinged with sorrow, yes, but also threaded with hope. It's a melancholy tempered by the soft light of possibility. Each collapse, painful as it is, becomes a quiet turning point. This delicate balance between vulnerability and strength is itself a form of resilience, an art of living through impermanence, fragmentation, and eventual renewal. Through this lens, burnout is not a mark of weakness, but a passage toward an integrated wholeness. It invites us to witness and honor the parts of ourselves often left in shadow. It reveals the limit cycles that define our human condition and the fragile grace with which we carry our lives. The cycle of collapse and renewal is thus less a problem to fix and more a mystery to embrace, a natural rhythm woven into the fabric of being itself. To understand burnout as a landscape is to feel the vastness within collapse. It is to recognize not just the sharp edges of exhaustion, but the soft contours of renewal waiting beneath. This shift in perspective brings a quiet compassion to what might otherwise feel like failure or defeat. Instead, we see burnout as a threshold, an invitation to slow down, to turn inward, and to meet the parts of ourselves usually hidden or denied. Within that meeting lies an exquisite tension, pain bruised with hope, despair quilted with the possibility of becoming. This tension, lived quietly and without hurry, opens a new kind of knowing. It is a knowing that we are not defined by unrelenting productivity or exhaustion, but by the cycles that carry us through these states. The shadow revealed in burnout is part of our wholeness, neither enemy nor curse, but a necessary piece of our being. This awareness softens the harsh judgments we place on ourselves when we falter. It gently invites us to extend kindness inward, to acknowledge that growth often emerges from surrender. The emotional palette here is deeply human, marked by melancholy, but also by a tender hope that flickers like a candle in the dark. In this waiting, in this pause, we become present to the subtle shifts taking place inside us. Renewal is quiet. It does not announce itself with fanfare, but moves in gentle waves. It is the slow recalibration of energy, the patient reweaving of meaning, and the soft reawakening of purpose. This process is a mirror to the human condition, vulnerable, fragmented, yet capable of profound transformation. To embrace it is to embrace ourselves more fully, our worn edges, our shadows, our light. It asks nothing more than presence and attention. And in that simple act, something vital begins to stir. The pace of life may remain relentless, but within the interior world, we carve out spaces of respite and regeneration. These spaces are sacred. They hold the possibility that collapse is not an end, but a folding in, a quiet return to center from which new life flows. This understanding shifts how we feel about our own limits, reframing them as natural and necessary. It also connects us to a deeper rhythm, one that ancient wisdom and modern psychology both honor, that within every ending is a beginning waiting to unfold. This reflection does not erase pain. It holds it alongside hope, allowing us to carry both. It honors the bittersweet nature of our journeys and the quiet dignity of the human heart. It was not about perfection. It was about presence. Not escape, but embrace. Collapse was not a failure. It was a passage. Not darkness alone, but the space where light begins anew. The candle's final flicker was not an ending, but a turning, the passing of trust from one flame to the next. Through the cycles of burnout and revival, we come to understand that our lives are woven from moments of breaking and becoming. Each collapse folds us into a deeper truth, a rhythm beyond effort or expectation. Renewal is less a destination than a delicate dance, a slow tending of the flame within. It asks us to move gently with our shadows, to listen closely to the whisper of ashes beneath the torch. This dance is both fragile and fierce, an art of surrendering and holding on, of losing and finding, of letting go and remembering. It is the pulse that carries us forward, the quiet heart of transformation beating steady beneath the surface. In holding this paradox, the space of burnout becomes sacred. We no longer fear collapse, but attend to it, knowing it is part of the unfolding story. It is not about fixing what breaks, but about witnessing the beauty in breaking itself. The flame dies not to disappear, but to kindle. And so, we learn to breathe with the rhythm of falling and rising, sorrow and hope, exhaustion and renewal. It is a truth whispered across ages and cultures, a timeless embrace of the human journey as one of collapse and revival. Here, in this sacred cycle, we find not an ending, but the gentle, persistent light of becoming.